Hello and a warm welcome to the universe of SAP BTP in a nutshell. Today, we will focus on SAP Analytics Cloud with Orla Cullen. And with this, I'd like to hand over to Toros Alejan. Toros, over to you.
Thank you, Tanya. Welcome, everyone. My name is Toros Alejan. Thank you so much for joining us in our episode 6 of the Universe of SAP Business Technology Platform in a nutshell. We have another great session lined up for you today. Our colleague, Orla Cullen, Solution Manager for Planning and Analytics, will be covering the SAP Analytics Cloud. Before we get started, I just want to share our Orla's contact information as well as Tanya's and myself. So if you want to reach out to any one of us after the call, please do so. I'll put this information in the chat very shortly. Also, I just wanted to let you guys know, I know that I've been repeating a lot of these webinars over the last couple of weeks. We have a couple of new additions here. So if you're interested in joining any of these other news webinars, so on April the 12th to April 26th, the BTP and HXM, our HR can harness the power of digital technologies and innovation. And then between March the 15th and April the 5th, transform your business for industries with BTP. And obviously the other ones, the Open SAP application operations, perform mass data changes in SAP SuccessFactors. If you're interested in joining any one of these, I will put the registration link in the chat. Also, if you want to join us at our on-site events, you can do so. I'll put the contacts in the chat there as well. And we will have our next SAP Garage series tomorrow. March the 1st, and we'll be covering identify optimization potential in the user experience of your business app. So if you're interested in joining our Garage Series episode 3, the Garage Series, for those who don't know, gives you a little bit more hands-on enablement. So it's one level deeper into the technology, providing you some expert guidance. Each of our episodes focuses on one SAP Discovery Center mission where our topic experts dive into the details. So if you're interested, I'll put the link for that as well. And then if you want to join any one of these forums that are currently ongoing on a monthly basis, please reach back out to me and I will send you the link for you to register. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Orla.
Excellent, thanks, Toros. So let me just bring up my slides. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for having us here today. So my name is Orla Cullen, and I'm a solution manager in the planning and analytics team. And myself have been working in analytics for quite a long time, probably more than 15 years. So I'm aging myself a little bit. So coming from the days of BW right through HANA, Business Objects, and today we're going to mainly focus on SAP Analytics Cloud. So, I mean, I'm sure most of you have been to a number of these webinars in the last couple of weeks, so you're very familiar with SAP's strategy on how we're enabling every enterprise to become intelligent, sustainable, and how we're doing that. So one of the key things that we try to talk to people about is we have a number of industry solutions and applications that we use day to day. As we're moving to the cloud, the ability for us to update these applications every quarter or twice a year is becoming much more plausible, but obviously the more extensions you put in there, the more difficult that becomes. So with that, we look at the business technology platform. So where we keep the core nice and clean, but we use BTP to enable our customers to do any kind of extensions they might want to do to serve their business needs. So what does that really look like? We've kind of got a number of pillars that we look at. There's pure application development, so building, innovating, building new applications. Automation, optimizing business processes, integrating with other SAP solutions or potentially even non-SAP solutions across our business. Data and analytics, giving our data purpose, and we're going to spend today really focusing on that topic. And also infusing intelligence, or AI. And this is a topic that's close to my heart. I've worked on machine learning and AI for a number of years and how important it is in our business processes, but also we'll see today in planning and analytics how that can really help and augment the experience for our end users. So when we talk about data and analytics, I'm going to go straight into it because I have a lot to cover today. We talk about a number of different topics. One is things like database and data management. So what do we do with all the data we have? How do we manage it? We know that most of our customers have heterogeneous landscapes with SAP and non-SAP sources of data. We talk about the data warehouse, how that concept is evolving over time. And we'll go a bit deeper on that in the next couple of slides. And then we're going to go really deep into analytics and planning and go through our offerings for SAP Analytics Cloud and what we're doing in the analytics space, what we're doing in the planning space. And then we're going to go even deeper in how Augmented and AI is really infused into all of these different technologies. We also have a few sneak peeks for you today. So there's some exciting things coming in Q2 this year and also the second half of 2023. So we'll give you a little advanced sneak peek into some of those topics and how we're really building those forward in the coming year. Okay, so when we talk about the actual product solutions that we have within this area in data analytics, we're talking about SAP Analytics Cloud, one of the main focuses of today. SAP Data Warehouse Cloud, which is an important part, and actually you'll see a big part of our strategy with analytics is really that analytics and Data Warehouse Cloud become this power couple, and we are doing more and more integration as time goes on, so we'll go through that in quite a bit of detail as well. Data intelligence, this is a really important part of our portfolio. How do we really cleanse, transform, and make data available to our users using open source and SAP technologies? Data governance, we know, is a key topic and a bit of a struggle, we know, for most of our customers or most people out there. And then also HANA Cloud as well. So we'll touch on each and every one of these solutions and give you an idea of how they're coming together to give the overall power of BTP for your organization. Okay, so when we talk about data, oh gosh, we know we just more and more data every year. Our companies are generating more and more data, be that customer data, be that kind of back office data, be it structured, unstructured, and the volume is just increasing and increasing. And we know a lot of our customers are trying their best to bring that data together. We have different solutions of how we need data, whether that's kind of hot, cold, or warm storage. So HANA Cloud with our in-memory database enables us to get real-time information, but that's not always what we need. So we have also things like Sybase and IQ that help us bring that together as well. Data quality is a huge topic. I mean, before we could even start to think about using data or even using any kind of AI or machine learning, we need to make sure the data is of good quality. And we have a number of tools in our arsenal to help you with that. Data intelligence and Data Warehouse Cloud are two of the big pillars in those. And you may have seen across social media, we're talking about the data moment, and there's going to be a big announcement next week around this topic. I encourage you all to tune into that, or we talk about how we're really moving forward and unleashing the power of your data. So definitely put that in your calendar, and we'll talk a bit more about how we're enhancing that value for our customers. And then under the hood for a lot of these topics, we have BW for HANA, and then we have things like SAP HANA for SQL data warehousing. And one of the things that we talk about, and we'll go into in a bit more detail, particularly with Data Warehouse Cloud, a lot of people ask me, is this a replacement for BW? And my answer is no, it's not. It can hold data, it can bring things together, but also it also enables us to federate and bring together data from many different sources. And then to use data, we have very different people within our organization that want to consume data. Some of them will be quite savvy and want to really slice and dice and get through and find insights. Some like to have data presented to them. And then also we have other things like planning and consolidation, which needs to be done within an organization as well. So we'll dive a bit deeper into Analytics Cloud, and we'll explain how we are bringing data to each and every one of these user communities and understanding what their needs are to make use of their data. And by bringing this together, the volume with the quality and the ability for different user groups to use the data is where we really bring value to an organization. But let's go a bit deeper to see what I mean. So what are the kind of users and what are they looking to do? Well, if we look at this picture here, the first thing we'll start is at the very bottom, we have a lot of our partners that are providing our infrastructure. So we see them down here. This is a lot of our cloud infrastructure across many different geographical locations, across different continents, and we have different providers that can be used. We start with HANA Cloud. When I talk about HANA Cloud, I talk to people and say it's not just a database, it's a platform for innovation. And there's so much capability under the hood rather than the in-memory technology. So HANA Cloud is a great place for our developers and our experts to bring together data from different areas, to build new applications, to use a lot of the technologies under the hood. And then if we move a step up the chain, we have data modelers and engineers. So this is where, as I mentioned before, a lot of our customers have data across could be just different applications. It could just be SuccessFactors and S4, or it could be non-SAP systems, and how we can start to bring those data sources together. And also, in a lot of cases, leave the data where it is, and with live connectivity, we can simply connect to that data without moving it around. And I think that's incredibly important, given the volume of data we have now in our organizations. We have things like data spaces. So here we can have a data modeler, bring different data sources together, create a data space. For example, I could be maybe a HR professional. I want to see salaries alongside my employees. Maybe that's coming from S4 and SuccessFactors. And with a data space, I can do that. On the side, we have our data intelligence. So this is really important, where we have, as I mentioned, data coming from many sources, be it SAP, non-SAP, structured, unstructured, you name it, and also enabling us to use industry standards and open source technologies, such as things like Python, Jupyter Notebooks, to really start to bring and transform our data. And then finally, we have streaming capabilities. And here, this is really interesting, where we may need data such as maybe it's oil and gas prices, it could be currency fluctuations coming from the stock exchange, or even things from Dun & Bradstreet, where we can actually subscribe to streaming the latest version of this data. I mean, this day and age, we shouldn't have every customer downloading this themselves. We come to the top of the picture, which is our business analyst. So here we want to have people who want to either, first of all, just consume reports, but also we might have users who might want to go through the data, understand what's happening in their business, and start to really self-serve, use some of those augmented capabilities to find patterns in their data, run what-if analysis. And then we also have our planners. Some of the most advanced users we find in an organization are our financial planners. So using this data, again, infused with the augmented analytics to bring out insights from their data, and using the data warehouse cloud below, potentially bringing together data from multiple sources to provide that view, that 360 view of our business. Up the very, very top, so one of the things we'll talk about today is, yes, we have SAP Analytics Cloud as a BI planning and augmented platform, but we are also integrating Analytics Cloud into our applications. So within S4, SuccessFactors, etc., we are embedding SAP Analytics Cloud functionalities directly into those applications. And what is the value of this? Well, imagine I'm an invoice processor working in accounts payable. I want to run a report that shows me which invoices are overdue. From here, I simply click on the invoice and I can go straight to it and take action. So this is where we have users who are actually resolving situations, be it with customers, invoices, purchase orders, or even different ledger information. They go straight from the report into the item and they can take immediate action. So as you can see, we have a number of different people that we want to reach. We have a number of different solutions that we're using to do that. And here we have the full suite of BTP. But you as a customer may only use certain parts of it, and that, of course, is perfectly fine. Okay, so let's actually have a look at SAP Analytics Cloud in detail. So the first thing we talk about when we talk about analytics maybe 10 years ago, it was building kind of reports or KPIs, which were delivered to executives or managers to take decisions on. But we know now that analytics has evolved, and it's more of a cyclical process where we start to do different activities around our data. So, I mean, this is cyclical, but we start at the top. We talk about asking and exploring. So the first thing we want to do is we want to ask questions of our data. And we'll talk a little bit later about how we're using techniques such as natural language processing, natural language generation. So we are properly asking business questions. And also exploring the data. And this is why it's important where we have things like Data Warehouse Cloud under the hood, where we're joining together multiple data sources and enabling our users to explore those different data sets and then visualize results. When they do find interesting results, they can obviously publish them to our catalog, or they can explore the catalog to say, maybe somebody else has already done this work. Maybe somebody in your organization has already explored this data and visualize the result, which you can then consume through the catalog. Again, we want to analyze. So we want to go through the different data sources, visualize the results to help us really get a feel for it. And we have different tools to do that, which we'll jump into, and also things like smart insights. So we want to point to a data point, point to a table, and maybe see if behind the scenes our AI and machine learning can bring us back some insights about that data. Collaboration couldn't be more important. The last few years, we're all working remotely, working from home. So how do we collaborate with our colleagues over different topics? So maybe we want to share a story saying, hey, look, I found something really interesting. I think we should discuss it further. Or maybe I find a topic in a story that's really interesting. I want to bookmark it. Or else I can enter comments. So if I see a data point that maybe is concerning me, I can add a comment, maybe even address it to a specific user to say, hey, this KPI is concerning. Let's look at it in more detail. So now we've looked at our data, we've analyzed the past, we've understood what's going on. The next is looking ahead to the future. So this is where we talk about forecasting and simulation. So we have a number of great tools within the tool that help you do that. So things like time series forecasting. So looking at the past numbers we had for sales, for example, and then asking the algorithm to forecast a number of periods in the future. We can also do what if simulation, again, something that's been extremely important over the past few years, given how volatile the business has been. What if we're in lockdown? What if we're not? What if we're doing more online sales and less trading in stores? And we can start to use these functions to not only find out what would happen if certain things don't materialize, but also we can actually try and simulate what is the best outcome we want for a situation. And we'll go into that in a bit more detail a bit later on. Planning. So planning is a big topic. I've worked in analytics for a long, long time. And what you find in a lot of businesses, we're sending data from analytics tools to planning tools and back and forth again. And sometimes the integrity of the data can get lost. So what I'm really impressed with Analytics Cloud is the planning really is a core part of the tool. It's not just an add-on. It is quite advanced. And we know that a lot of our planning users, particularly in anywhere I've worked, financial controllers, financial planners, are really astute, and to provide these capabilities to them is extremely important. The first thing is collaboration. We know that we have to collaborate for planning across a number of different entities, different divisions, and bring that information together. And we also have some certain capabilities like advanced formulas. And I think this one's really interesting. And my father comes from a financial background, and he saw one day in one of my blogs, we had something called a carry forward function, which was just a formula that brought balances from one period to the next. I mean, sounds super simple, but is really, really helpful and useful to our planners. And we have a number of those advanced formulas and data actions and multi-actions that we can schedule and we can run throughout the weeks or the months or the quarter, which are extremely useful to our planning users. And then acting as well. So we have a number of, we can trigger actions. So if something happens or we see a KPI going past a certain threshold, we can trigger an action. We also have our analytical applications. So a lot of our users here could be just self-service users building dashboards, doing visualizations. But we also know we have advanced users that may have requirements to build really complex analytical applications, and they can do that with Application Designer. And we'll talk a little bit about how stories and analytical applications are coming closer together later in the presentation. And then finally, this is kind of what I call sort of the operationalization of these reports. So we want to be able to monitor and alert these things. So if we see that we're expressing or we are exceeding a certain threshold, or we see a KPI has gone above a certain amount, we can send alerts to different people to explore that in more detail. We can schedule our reports, and maybe it runs on the first of the month or the last day of the month or once a week. We can also see when data has changed to our API as well. So as we can see, this is more than just running a report or a dashboard. This really is a full service analytical solution that helps our users make decisions. Okay, so if we actually look at the subcomponents, many of you may look at our Roadmap Explorer and see some of these topics. That is the best place to go to see what's coming quarter on quarter. We're going to start probably at the very top, where we have how our users consume this information. So we have the digital boardroom, we have our stories, we have our analytical applications, and we have our Microsoft Office integration. So these are probably the four main ways that our users will connect with the data. Because we're creating more and more dashboards and insights, we do also have our analytics catalog. So this is a way for us to really put kind of structure and metadata on all the different reports and dashboards that we're building to make it much easier for our end users to find what they're looking for. And then finally, we are living in a mobile world. So obviously all of these artifacts that we're creating, we need to be available on the go. So we're supporting mobile, both iOS and Android, to enable you to work through these different topics. And also with the mobile, we have spent a good bit of time making sure that it is a true mobile experience. It's not just moving a dashboard onto a phone. So making sure that everything sizes properly, we have responsive layouts, but also as well as that, all the functions that you would expect on any mobile phone in terms of sharing and collaboration are also available there as well. Then again, we have our core analytical capabilities. So we start with BI, where we have exploration, dashboards, visualization, and enterprise reporting, which again, we'll touch on a bit later. For augmented analytics, this again is kind of prediction, automation, conversational, natural language processing, natural language generation. We want to be able to ask questions. We want to be able to understand the results that are coming back to us. And then we have enterprise planning, which is kind of our workflows, and also predictive planning, which was a big topic in 2022 and continues to be in 2023. In terms of the platform, this is what I always mention is the kind of the not so sexy stuff, but very important nonetheless. So things like our data connectivity, live connections to data sources. So we're not moving data from on-premise or cloud solutions, we're connecting live and being able to use that data directly in the cloud. Data preparation, so where we have maybe some work to do to join different sources together. Again, this is probably quite high level. For any advanced preparation, we would look at data warehouse cloud. Data modeling, so this is a big topic and has been again from 2022 to this year. Building that analytical model, making sure it's fit for purpose for not just BI, but also for planning, and also can be used for some of our predictive capabilities. And then we have things like auditing and monitoring, translation services, lifecycle management, and then as I mentioned earlier, things like collaboration and scheduling. So these are all very important for a full enterprise-ready solution. They kind of happen under the hood, but they're just as important to make sure the solution is exactly what you need it to be. So as we mentioned again, this with analytics and the BI investment areas, we want to enhance the role of SAP Analytics Cloud in not just as a standalone platform. We want to really embed those into SAP applications, both cloud and on-premise. Enterprise readiness, so again, this is the stuff to make sure we can focus on user productivity, how things can be scheduled, how they can jump straight to an activity they need to make sure that when they are using the tool, they're getting the most out of it and not spending a lot of time getting stuff ready. And then augmented. And one of the things that I'm really happy to say, I worked on the augmented analytics portfolio for a number of years. It felt at the beginning like a kind of a standalone pillar. We had BI planning and then augmented. But I think what you're going to see now is it's becoming less of a standalone topic because it's infused into almost everything that we do. It's actually part of BI, it's part of planning. And we're going to see a lot more of that as we go through the different topics. Our statement of direction, as always, is available here, which kind of explains as a company where we're looking to go. So I will give you access to these slides after this presentation, but that statement of direction is where you need to go to find out our future plans. Okay, so let's go a bit deeper into the different capabilities of the tool. So the first thing we're going to talk about is visualization. So this is absolutely key important, for people. You want to consume information. Looking at a page of numbers often isn't very exciting. So we want to make sure we have an extensive visualization library with things like geomaps, where we can really start to show where things are happening. We're using ESRI to obviously to power that, but also things like custom R visualizations, which is something that is very, very powerful in a lot of different circumstances. And the R visualization editor is actually extremely easy to use. You don't need to be a programmer to do that. This is in keeping with our low code, no code promise. You can import our widgets, our custom code straight into our editors and explore them here. Most of this is open source, so available to you anywhere on the web, and you can integrate those into your visualizations. And we have obviously more advanced features like custom calculations, ways to aggregate dimensions, etc. We have things like dynamic text tokens. So as you can see here on the screen underneath our time series chart, we also have some information written in business language about the responses and our top contribution in that particular area. So again, it's written in English for business users to consume. And also things like commenting, collaboration. I think that's a huge part of what we do these days, the ability to collaborate even when we're not in the same place. And I think that's a key topic for us going forward. Overall, for the old dashboard and visualizations, we spent a lot of time over the last year or so optimizing the overall experience. So you may have heard about the optimized story experience. That incorporates two things. One is the optimized design mode. So this is what, as a designer, how it helps you build good dashboards. It will warn you if maybe you're overloading a chart or suggest maybe a different chart type might be appropriate. And then in a situation where we have people viewing the information, if we have big dashboards with a lot of data, we have things like lazy loading or context loading. So if you go straight to the chart you want, it will load that chart first. There are other things in terms of filtering and also things like our builder panel and our exploration, which we've improved. There's quite a lot of information on this. I would suggest you check out some of the blogs on this, but we really are committed to an overall optimized story experience, whether you're a designer or a viewer. And that's something that we are continuing to work on into 2023. Data Analyzer. So don't know if many of you have already seen the upgrades for Q1 2023. Data Analyzer was a huge part of our release in the middle of February this year. Data Analyzer has been a hugely popular tool. If you're like me and you used to work in things like BW, this reminds me a lot of BW Explorer, or BEX as we used to call it. It really enables you to start slicing and dicing the data directly from whether that's live queries in BW, live HANA views, or even just Analytical Cloud models. And straight away, without creating a model or a story, you can start to slice and dice that data. If you find interesting views or you bring something together, you can save that as an insight, which can then go into the analytics catalog, so you can share that with your colleagues or with your manager or whoever that may be. And also some of the new things that have come this year is really the expanding the capabilities of the builder and styling panel to produce some great reports, but also the filters as well. So be able to filter, advanced filtering, advanced commenting, and the ability really to build out these explorations or insights, as we call them as well. And then one of the new things that we've added is the ability to jump straight from a story into Data Analyzer, bringing together any of the filters you may have applied on your story. So it gets the context of what you were looking at and enables you to jump out and really slice and dice that information to find the insights that you're looking for. I've barely done this justice, but I've got a lot to go through today. So if you have a look at our top 5 video for Q1 2023, our blogs, there's a lot of information on this topic. I really recommend you take a look at it because there's some amazing features, which I know our users will definitely love. Enterprise reporting. So this one is interesting to me. Having moved from business objects where we use things like Crystal reports and Webby, where we had very structured reports with pagination, headers, footers, sections, etc. Really formatted reports. Moving to Analytics Cloud, the focus really was on self-service reporting, enabling users to slice and dice, build their own reports, which is something we know our users were asking for a very long time. But actually, enterprise reporting is still a huge part of how we service our business needs and our business users. Particularly maybe at the higher level, the C-level executives, they want to have a report where it is structured, they can see the information they're looking for. But that doesn't mean that they lose all that self-service capability, that augmented analytics, that the natural language processing, as you can see here. We have some dynamic text tokens, but also the user can actually go into the formatted report. They can filter by different sections. They can drill through information. They still have a lot of flexibility, but in a very structured report. So this was actually extremely important for us to deliver. As I mentioned, the world view is that we all want self-service analytics, but actually formatted reporting is still an important part of the any overall business in terms of reporting numbers and structures, particularly to senior management. So this is a topic we continue to work on and has been extremely popular, but still maintaining that bit of drillability, that bit of self-service, that bit of ability for the user to drill through. What if analysis? I think we mentioned this a bit earlier. So this has been hugely important. I think one of the things we talk about analytics is looking at the past, what has happened. We can use prediction to see, what will happen in the future, what's likely to happen in the future. But with what if we can start to ask questions and actually influence our path that we're going down. So what if, for example, we hired more staff? Could we have the stores open later? We can use prediction then to understand, would we sell more? Or potentially maybe the overhead might not actually meet the needs we want. But also we looked at some of this stuff here again in terms of during COVID, things like we had some of our customers who were working with the public. They could only allow a certain amount of people in or out of a theme park or whatever it may be, and they were using these models to understand how much staff they would need. They didn't necessarily know exactly what government regulations would come through, so the ability to actually simulate different scenarios, and then once they understood what the reality of the situation was, they could then go with those as well. And the great thing about this what if is it was originally done as part of kind of BI and Augmented, but we have now embedded that directly into our value driver tree. So our planners can also use what if analysis during their planning cycles as well. So I've just touched on this. It really is a powerful tool. I mean, it can be done at a very high level or a very detailed level. I think that's what's incredibly important. Because sometimes at high level doesn't give you the full picture. So to drill down into the different areas, different products, different regions, to give different analyses, I think is extremely important and very, very powerful. Planning. So this is where we talk about a lot of the key planning information we have here in Analytics Cloud. One of the key drivers we see is the value driver tree, which has enabled us to kind of see how different data in our organization affects other information downstream. So if we, again, this is why the what if is super important. If we change something, it may be at the leaf node, what is the overall effect on the tree? So this is really important for us to bring this stuff together. It's the first probably product I've seen that really properly brings planning and analytics together in the one tool, and the ability to share information between potentially business analysts and financial controllers or regular planners. So as you can see here, we can actually see that we have customized the data spreading, the workflow processing management. There's a huge amount of information in here on how we can schedule. We can actually assign tasks to people to approve budgets, to review different cycles, and actually have all of that automated. Very, very powerful, and also enables us to consolidate planning in a single platform. What we have delivered this year between the Data Warehouse Cloud, Analytics Cloud, and S4HANA is the ability for us to take the actual data, live from S4HANA, use it in our planning process, use what if simulation, all of that information in Analytics Cloud, and then send those budgets back into S4, where they can then be run day to day against invoices and purchase orders and whatnot. So closing the loop there, having a full end-to-end scenario, no data is lost, the data integrity is maintained, we have one source of the truth. And I think that we're seeing a lot of our customers finding that extremely powerful and enabling them to run their business and save a lot of time moving data back and forth in order to do these forecasts. So a lot in here. I have barely touched upon it. I think there is a dedicated session that will go a bit deeper into some of these topics, but there's a lot in there to see, and you'll see in our roadmap every single quarter we have new, advanced formulas, data actions, data connections, workflows, calendar management. It's a fully end-to-end managed lifecycle, which is very, very powerful for any planner. Okay, so automation or augmented analytics. I think it's been one of the key differentiators for Analytics Cloud over the years. We started off with things like search to insights, where we use this kind of conversational tone. So for example, I want to ask a question of my data in business language. So I'm asking, what are my sales for the next quarter? And again, you can use things like top 5, you can say next week, last month. It understands these different speech patterns that we have, and it brings you back a number of different options. And what it will do is it will actually also suggest what report they think or what chart type might make most sense. For example, it could be a bar chart. If we talk about time dimension, it could be a time series report. And all of these things are brought together using the natural language processing. And on top of that, we can actually create what we call synonyms. So maybe we have a number of different names for the same thing across different platforms. So we can start to put those in there. So maybe gross sales margin, some topics that we use, maybe we interchange across our business, we can build those in as well to enable us to do that. Our automated insights. So this is an interesting one where we maybe pick a data point in a chart. We see, for example, here of our sport. We want to understand a bit more about it. The first thing it will tell us is how it's changed over time. And it will also look at whatever kind of time dimension you're looking at, be that day, month, quarter, or a year. You can obviously change that. It then brings down what it thinks are the important features about that, but in English. Again, as you can see here, we're seeing that Germany is the top geolocation, and also we can see different things like the ME is a top region. And we can drill through these insights to find more and more insights. And this is what we call natural language generation. So again, we're finding an interesting data point, but we're giving it back to you in English. So it's in English or in business language that you can understand as well. Automated discovery. So this is really where we're asking a business user is actually properly working with machine learning algorithms. So here we might have something interesting about maybe our revenue. What it will do in the background, it will start to go through all of the associated data and start to reveal trends, patterns, different outliers in your data and bring that back to you. And another part we have of the automated discovery is we've all integrated the what if analysis. So where we can start to interchange between two different data points to see what would happen in different scenarios. Then we have the full smart predictor. This is where we're actually programming and we are putting in all the features we need for a predictive model. We're using regression and classification using SAP's own automated predictive library. And here we can generate forecasts. You don't need to be a data scientist. It's a very guided wizard-like approach. And one of the really important things we've done with predictive analytics over the last year is really integrate it back into particularly our planning workflows, which we'll show you a little bit later on. But we're going from the really simple approach for an information worker all the way through to a citizen data scientist. So again, we are trying to reach all the different users within your organization to enable them to access these powerful insights, which is only right. I mean, in our daily lives, we get recommendations, we use forecasts, we use predictions. There's absolutely no reason this shouldn't be made available to business users. And this is what we're doing here. Okay, so Smart Predict, as I mentioned before, one of the great things about Smart Predict is it really guides you every step of the way. And when you're done, it does give you a breakdown of whether or not your model was any good. So here we see things like predictive power, predictive confidence. So we may actually not have enough data to actually give us a good model, in which case we don't want to use it to make business decisions. So this tool will give you that in a business language to tell you, yes, we think it's a good report, good model, or no, potentially the confidence, we don't have enough historical data to build a good model. The other thing to mention here as well is we just saw there the top contributors. So we can actually show you what is actually influencing, for example, employee churn. What are the main features here? So we're seeing here the top ones are, okay, tenure is important, functional area, the job level, and we can actually go through those in more detail to understand why certain people maybe are leaving our organization. So that's just one example. We have, as I said, we mentioned classification, regression, and then time series as well. So time series, fairly straightforward. We want to look at our sales in the past and maybe want to look at them for the next 30 days. So pretty straightforward for most users to make use of. And what's very important is how we have the ability then to embed that back into our business processes. So one of the key things we've done this year, and we've automated it, is the ability to build a predictive model to basically put it directly into one of our planning stories, as we can see here. And then we can create a data action or a multi-action to push that forecast maybe once a month, once a week, once a quarter, whatever makes sense for you and your business. What we can also do now with multi-actions is we can retrain that model before we do any of the applications to make sure it is using the latest data. And what you can see here is where the predictions come through. The planner can still adjust those because we do know that our planners maybe have more information that wasn't in the model. It could be down to weather, it could be down to maybe a big event coming up, so they can actually adjust those values again as they see fit. So why is this so powerful? So, okay, we talk about traditional analytics and BI, we have data and we can run a report that shows us what has happened. Then what we can try to do is start to visualize and model the data and maybe build a prediction of what could happen. Then we can start to bring in our what if analysis to say, well, what would we like to happen and what do we need to do to achieve that? So bringing these three things together enables, first of all, to see the past, see what the future is looking like, and then how we can intervene to get the desired results that we as a business would like. So it's a very, very powerful tool that can be used by any end user and enabling that the company is reaching their vision. A great example of this is Roche, who are using predictive planning to forecast 14,000 data points in their own solution. So if you think of it, that's a lot of different data points. They have 20,000 in total, some of which they still do manually, but 14,000 they're able to do in an automated fashion, which is actually reducing the amount of time that their planners are spending doing these forecasts. So they're saying that at this point, it's taking them 2 hours to generate 4 billion Swiss francs worth of financial forecasts, which was several weeks before. And overall, they're finding the accuracy is improved somewhat by using these predictive models, and they are very actively using this in their business every single day. Okay, so this is a little bit of a sneak peek. So we're talking about conversational analytics, and you may have seen that SAP acquired Ask Data in 2022. So we've been working very hard to integrate some of their capabilities directly into Analytics Cloud. So we already had with Search to Insight the capability to ask business questions of our data, but with Ask Data, we really are augmenting those features even further. What we can use here is very, very lightweight personal feeds. We have watch lists. It's available in multiple different languages. We can use this both on live and acquired data, and it's becoming has pre-built content and synonyms built in. So we have the ability to put synonyms in directly, but a lot of this stuff is now becoming automated with the Ask Data portfolio. It's also continuously learning. So as more and more we're asking questions, it's learning what the best answers are, what are users choosing. And so we're excited to announce this will be a big topic for us in the second half of 2023. So stay tuned, keep an eye on our roadmap and our blogs, and we'll give you a bit more detail as it becomes a bit more concrete. Okay, we do have a little video here. So this is just showing again how as you start typing things in, immediately it's bringing back different information to you. It can browse different questions. It knows by what you say, what potentially you're looking for. And also at any stage, you can save these and share them with your colleagues as well. And understand things like top 5 or bottom 6 or last 10. And then once you create that information, you can share that, of course, with your colleagues. Analytical applications. So many of you may remember Design Studio, a very popular tool that was used to build complex analytical applications where we could have different widgets using custom code, be that JavaScript or CSS scripts, to build out really kind of complex applications that not just showed you data, but enabled you to create buttons and widgets. It's been very, very popular, and it's continued to go from strength to strength within Analytics Cloud. It can be used whether it's BI or planning, and even bring in the predictive capabilities as well, and also is available on our mobile devices. One of the things that we get a lot of, obviously there's stories that are more standard, and then we have the analytical applications, which are that bit more complicated. So one of the things we've often been asked is, if you just want to bring one widget into a story, can you do that? So the good news is, with actually Q2 of this year, so coming very, very shortly, we now, as part of our optimized story, have our unified story. So this is where, whether it's a dashboard, or sorry, a digital boardroom, a story, or an analytical application, it can all be done in the one artifact, with our unified story. So if you're building just a standard story and you want to add in just one custom widget, you can do that. And that is super simple. And in one area, you have everything together. So this will also bring in the optimized story capability I mentioned a bit earlier. So things like the advice for designers, the better experience for our users of stories, and also it's kind of starting to bring together our low code, no code motto for these things, where we can actually just bring in custom widgets that someone else created and add simple themes to a regular story. So overall, it's just basically, we had 3 artifacts before. We're seeing over time those become a lot more integrated. So I think unified story for Q2 is going to be a big topic. We know our users are really keen to get their hands on it. We had a good few users, our customers already using this, and just seeing it's a much more smoother experience to add in scripting components to a story, which is something that I get asked all the time when you go to a lot of these conferences. They don't want to build very complex analytical applications, but just bringing in 1 or 2 widgets to enhance an overall story. So that's something coming your way in Q2. There'll be plenty of blogs and videos already coming out to give you a preview of that, but definitely stay tuned to hear more. And so moving on to our analysis for Microsoft Office. So I mean, any BI tool in the world, the first thing people want to know is, can they export things to Excel, or can they bring the data out? We know this. With the add-in for Microsoft Office, we can't take it a step further and really just use the existing Excel functions and embed the Analytics Cloud capabilities within there. So we can use these to analyze acquired and live data from BW, HANA, S4HANA, and also any additional Analytics Cloud components that you may have. So not only do we get some of the advanced features that you would expect from Analytics Cloud, it also is making a lot of use from the existing features and functions that you would have in Excel anyway. So you're getting the best of both worlds in here. We're connecting live to the data. We're able to use all those additional functionalities, and you'll see quarter on quarter a lot of the new formulas that we're adding in here. Extremely powerful, particularly for our planning users who do like to use Excel as a front end, but keep all those capabilities that we had in Analytics Cloud for reporting and planning. Analytics catalog. So we've just talked about all the different planning stories, analytical application, insights from data analyzer, digital boardroom, and stories. So as you can imagine, there can be a huge amount of content created within your tenant. And how do we make it really easy for our users to consume this? So if we can centralize these in a catalog where we can, first of all, we can have metadata added to each of the different artifacts we're creating to help our users look for them, to search for them, whether that's by industry, we could have it by location, by line of business, or just even keywords that we want to use within the different cards themselves. You can also decide who can have access to them. So maybe if there's some sensitive data, we can decide that maybe only certain teams have access to it. Within the catalog ourselves, we can actually look at favorites, we can see what's been shared with us. And this is part of the standard offering for Analytics Cloud, and a great way for you to make sure all of the artifacts that you are creating are well cataloged and easy for your end users to find. We mentioned the mobile earlier on, and this is what I mentioned about using Analytics Cloud on the go. It can be used for both iOS and for Android. But what we've seen here is, the UI here is much more responsive. It is very specific to a mobile device and very easy for an end user to consume. So as you can see here, we can start typing and asking questions. It brings back the different answers to us that we can choose from. Also, one thing to mention is if we do have to take a flight or something, if we happen to be in airplane mode, it will save the last 10 searches that we had or anything that we may have pinned into our previous chat. So if we're on the go and we don't maybe have a connection, we can start to do those things as well. The other thing to mention about this here is, if we see something interesting, we can actually share those details with our colleagues. So we can actually circle us on the screen. We can share it using any of the typical sharing devices you might use on any mobile device, be that WhatsApp or by email, by text message, etc. So there's very, very easy for our users to use and also share with their colleagues as they go. So as I mentioned, very powerful. We can also use voice to ask questions as well as typing. So we can use we'll have a little microphone bar there as well that enables us to see that too. Well, it's super easy to use. It supports single sign-on, so you don't have to be logging in every time, and very easy and native for anyone who's used a mobile device in their life should be able to use this with ease. Collaboration, I think I touched on this a bit earlier, but just going a little bit deeper. Commenting, we can comment on stories, we can comment on an application, even specific data points or tables, and you can actually decide whether commenting can be enabled or disabled on specific features within your story. You can also send a comment directly to a person. So if you want to ask a specific person, say, hey, can you have a look at this, please? You can ask them in the comment, and they can send an information back. You can also set alerting here. So for example, if you ask a question and the person does answer, it will alert you to let you know that an answer is waiting for you. We can also have kind of group discussions. So again, particularly things like planning cycles, which do go through a lot of review. We can actually have discussions open here where different teams can put their input in and out, which we know is super important to get these things done in a timely manner. And also these can be done not only on the desktop, but again, these could be done on your mobile device as well. So if you're on the go, you can have your input in there as well. And then sharing, yeah, super simple. You're looking at a table, you've applied a couple of filters, and you want to share with your team and say, hey guys, I really think you should have a look at this. We can share them as private or public stories and as bookmarks to any other user or team via the link here. And in some scenarios, we can actually share without the user even being an SAP Analytics Cloud user, and they won't be able to interact, obviously, with the dashboard, but it will give them the information that you want them to see. Scheduling publications. So this is super important, as we know. Not everyone wants to log into the tool and periodically and look up the different figures. So maybe we have a monthly dashboard that is sent to management teams on the first of the month or the last of the month. Or, if certain things have changed, we can decide when that can be shared. They can be sent as PDF or as PowerPoints. They can also include things like prompts and variables. And also we can manage the schedules via calendar, or we can even configure with your own SMTP server for delivery as well. So again, just make sure everyone's up to date. People don't have to log in. They are sent the information directly, and they can then act on it accordingly. Okay, so we talked a bit earlier about how we are embedding a lot of these these dashboards directly into line of business applications. So just a few examples we have here are SuccessFactors, customer experience, S/4HANA Cloud, and also spend management. So this is part of the overall business technology platform service, where we now enable users to go directly into any of their line of business systems, and they have these analytical insights pre-built into their systems with pre-built content. So it's not like our user or our customers have to build these dashboards. They have been custom built for you. So for example, if it's embedded in spend, it probably is looking at different spend categories over a certain time. It might show you purchase orders or whatever is relevant in that scenario. For SuccessFactors, the same employee dashboards, we might have learning dashboards, and all of those are drillable. And as I mentioned earlier, the really key part of this is the fact that if somebody in there, for example, in maybe customer experience, sees a customer that maybe hasn't bought from us in a while, or maybe sees that they're unhappy with something, they can go directly into that customer record and decide to take action accordingly. So that is the powerful part, that I'm logging into an analytics tool and then back into the line of business application. This is completely seamless, and this is where we really mean when we say insight to action. So we see the insight and straight away we can take action as well. And a lot of these we have infused kind of AI and machine learning, maybe forecasting invoices that are likely not to be paid, and maybe we want to take action to remind the customer, or maybe take some remediation, understand a payment plan with that customer, wherever the solution may be. But all of this is going straight from seeing something and then taking the appropriate action. Also, we have business content for BTP. So this is across all of BTP. We're going to talk a little bit more about analytics. But this is basically any kind of pre-packaged objects or templates that encompass best practices that can be deployed on any of our BTP services. So we have things like process automation, we've got bots, we've got workflows, we've got integration packs and iFlows. But more specifically for BI and planning, we have SAP Analytics Cloud and Data Warehouse Cloud templates, which enable you to get started with your analytics journey. So a really good example, I was at Sapphire last year, and a good few customers came to me and said, I've just completed my S/4HANA journey, or I'm just almost finished my S/4HANA journey. I'm looking at Analytics Cloud. Where do I start? So, the first thing I always say to people is everyone has to do finance. So we have about over 200 packages available. Maybe look at integrated financials. And straight away, you could import that content into your tenant free of charge, connect it to your S/4HANA systems. We have all of the technical capabilities to do that. And behind the scenes, we'll show you what views we're connecting to, where the data is coming from, how we're calculating the KPIs. And within a matter of weeks, you can be up and running with this content in your business. Show your bosses, straight away. There's some low-hanging fruit after maybe a long transformation journey with S4. Having all of these capabilities just at your fingertips is super powerful and really showing a return on investment to your business. There are quite a lot of packages. I'm not even going to start to go through them all. If you have a look at our product plan, we list them all. And not only are we listing new ones every quarter, but the existing ones are getting updated periodically as well as things are changing. So for line of business here, we can see some of the straightforward ones, travel and expenses, we've got vendor management, financial operations, human resources, and then industry specific titles like oil and gas or mining, banking, etc. And all of this is free of charge. You just need to import it into your tenant, connect it to the data sources, and off you go as well. And one thing which I mentioned here, I talked about Data Warehouse Cloud. A lot of the scenarios we have here are connecting to maybe just one system. So for example, maybe just S/4HANA or maybe just Ariba. With the inclusion of Data Warehouse Cloud, we are building packages where we're potentially taking data from multiple sources. So I think workforce planning is a really good example. We're taking your financials from S/4HANA, and we're taking, for example, your HR data from SuccessFactors, bringing those together, understanding how that data should be joined, and then bringing you dashboards with that data brought together. We even have some customers who take some of these packages and maybe we're using S4, we're potentially using a different workforce management system, and we're still able to use those packages with a little additional effort to get that information across. Okay, so I hope that's not too much information for everybody, but so why Analytics Cloud? Okay, the first thing is, well, we can analyze, predict, and plan in one tool. We are not moving data left and right. It's all in one place for you to do that. Live connections. So we mentioned that there's a lot of data coming from a lot of different systems. So the ability to connect live to both cloud and on-premise data sources is super powerful, because we don't want to be moving data around the place. Data should stay where it is. And using these live connections, we can start to build out some beautiful dashboards. Again, confident decisions. So really we are infused machine learning and automated insights into every part of the process, both BI and planning. It's simple to use. It is designed for end users. It's not designed for data scientists or people with advanced mathematical capabilities. Collaboration is more important than ever as we are becoming more global. The ability to discuss, comment, or share content on desktop or mobile is super important. Innovation, to create new innovation features. We have these every quarter. Please keep an eye on our Roadmap Explorer. You'll see all the new things coming through. Flexibility, again, as you enhance the capabilities, as you grow as a business, the flexibility here to scale is not on you as a business. That's something we can do with our infrastructure partners. And then finally, it's a fully hosted solution, which is maintained by SAP. You will be upgraded with all the new features every quarter. There's nothing you need to do. If you follow me on any of the social channels, you will see I do a good rundown of every new feature that you're going to get every quarter, so we keep you fully up to date on all of that stuff. So with that said, for all of our customers, it is a full end-to-end solution that gives you the ability to make those decisions, but also the whole service is managed for you. Okay, so with that, I come to the end. There's a few resources that I've left here. Our main is our Analytics Cloud website, our community. Our community is super important to us. I'll tell you now, the senior management, if a question isn't answered in a few days, he's raising that with the team to make sure those questions are answered. We have our roadmap, which tells you what's coming. Please keep an eye on that as new things are coming through. We do have our free trial, so you can actually have a go yourself. And then also we have some great blogs on how you can get started. So plenty of content for you to get going, but the community probably is the best place if you have any questions, whether they're technical or just on how to get started, for us to help you with. And with that, I think I've come to the end. Yeah, thank you for joining me today. And if you have any further questions instead, please join us in the community.
Thank you so much, Orla.
Awesome.
Tanya, do we have any questions in the chat?
Actually, we do not.
So if you guys have any
questions.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, please do type your questions in the chat, and Orla will be able to answer your questions.
So we have a question. So, Orla, to you, very good presentation, considering the breadth of the topic. HC, DWC, all the acronyms, and more. So SAC and AI, ML, indeed, yes. Does Taurus allow time to take a breath? Yes, we do. You're right. It was a lot to take.
Thanks for bearing with me, but there is a lot happening at the moment, so we tried our best to get everything in there. But for everything that we've showed you today, there are detailed blogs and videos. So, if you join our community page, we have all of those in great detail, and experts waiting to answer your questions should you have any on any specific topics.
Mm-hmm. So we don't see any additional questions. So hopefully, Orla's covered most of the topics, or has answered through her presentation, has answered most of your questions. If you guys have any additional questions that pop up after the session is over, Orla's contact information is in the chat, along with mine and Tanya. So if you want to reach back out to us, please feel free to do that. Also, all of the information for the other webinars that we're currently planning is in the chat as well. So please make use of that and connect back with us and join us at a future session. Thank you so much, Orla, for an amazing session. A lot of information to digest here.
Taurus,
mm-hmm.
Let me interrupt quickly. So we have 2 quick questions. We have 2 minutes. Okay. So how can we compare SAC with Tableau or other BI tools, Power BI?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, and we're in the middle of doing a Gartner showdown where we're going head to head with those guys. For me personally, I think one of the key differentiators that we have is particularly having planning and analytics in the one tool. We do see other tools have an aspect of planning, but I don't think they're integrated in the same way. And also kind of in the way that we have embraced, as I mentioned, the augmented features as part of the core. It's not something on the side. I think that's extremely powerful. Also, I think our business content, it really helps, particularly, I know it's probably SAP to SAP, but for our SAP customers on other applications, to get started with SAP Analytics Cloud is extremely easy to do. And I think it's a great way for people to get started. We always go toe to toe with them, though. Obviously, feature to feature, we watch what they do and they watch what we do. It is a competitive landscape, but we try to focus on the big picture, overall enterprise readiness, and the integration with BTP. So SAC is not just a tool out by itself; it is an integral part of the business technology platform.
Yeah. Orla, do you have any links that the participants can click on to get started? Maybe some courses, some resources, some sandbox systems that they can utilize.
Absolutely. We had a great Open SAP course, which is being rerun at the moment. So I can share that one as well.
Okay.
That's a great one to start with. And it was just redone this time this year. Let me just jump in so I can find that. That's a great way to get started. There's a lot in it, I'm not going to lie to you, but you can go to the parts that are most interesting to you. So for example, if you want to go straight into visualizations, if you're more interested in analytical applications, then that's an additional way for you to jump through those different modules. So it's a great way to get started. The other one I mentioned earlier was the business content. So this is where we have the pre-packaged content that's available to you. And I can see if I can put a link to you for that one there as well.
Okay.
Doris, are you posting or shall I post?
No, you can post. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is the business content.
The Open SAP course and the community. I posted both, and now we are already on top of the hour. And so I can only repeat what Toros mentioned. Feel free to reach out to us. Happy to help. Join our other series. They might be really of interest for you as well. That's why I really recommend it to Brian, because as a developer, he wanted more deep dive sessions, and our series on from no code to pro code, the right solution for everyone, is surely goes more deep into the topic. And with this, Orla, a big thanks to you for your excellent presentation. I really enjoyed listening to you. And a big thanks to all our attendees for joining. Of course, especially to the ones who have followed us really with patience in all our sessions. Looking forward to see you again on Thursday or next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye, everyone.